Now, the environmental group Just Stop Oil has been in the news a lot recently. They've been hammering home their aim to publicise the dangers of climate change by blocking motorways, disrupting airports and theatre plays, throwing soup at works of art. And after all that, the group's now decided to end its campaign of direct action after one last hurrah blocking the traffic in the middle of London yesterday. Just Stop Oil says its demand for an end to new licences to drill for oil and gas have been adopted by the UK government. However, privately, they are also concerned by the longer prison sentences handed out to some of its members for taking part in disruptive protests. Let's speak now to Mitch Rose, who's from Just Stop Oil. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Andrew. Thank you for having me on.
Is this the end of the group then, as we know it, Just Stop Oil?
Well, Just Stop Oil was always a time-limited campaign, and 3 years is a good run for a campaign. What we set out to do, which was just stop oil, so no new oil and gas in the UK, is now government policy. So, we've proved that civil resistance works, and what amazing achievements a small group of people who are dedicated, to doing something like that can achieve.
I suppose the thing is that oil and gas drilling is still happening.
Yeah, it would have been really good if when the new government came in, they'd have had the, I was going to say, I won't say that word on air, but that they would have had the gumption to rescind what the previous government had done and actually stopped all oil and gas immediately. We know we have to stop it by 2030, and we wish they would have done that, especially as in opposition, they made all the right noises. But hey-ho, we are where we are. There is still a lot to be done. And, we're still battling government corruption. We're still battling court corruption. We have, as you rightly said, lots of Just Stop Oil. And in fact, this is rigged supporters in prison. And so we will be looking out for them. And that will be part of what we do next. But also what we need to do next is to move on to updating our democracy. Billionaires have bought political power and media influence, and it's time for the people to take democracy back. So we're asking people to go and sign up to houseofthepeople.uk, particularly in Scotland. Scotland's going to have its first People's Assembly, I believe it's in Glasgow in June. And that will be looking to get the 5 key issues from the Scottish people to feed in to the houseofthepeople.uk. So, yeah, we might be hanging up the orange high-vis, but we had a great celebration of our achievements yesterday. And it's now time to move on to calling out billionaires and to calling out government corruption and court corruption.
If we look at some of the things that Just Stop Oil have done, so for example, climbing on gantries over the M25 motorway, so that in itself is quite a dangerous activity that might have resulted in innocent people getting hurt, just normal everyday people trying to get from A to B on the motorway. Were you okay with all that kind of thing?
In normal everyday times, I agree with you, that would be completely unacceptable. But we're not in ordinary times. We're facing the collapse of our climate in real time. We're watching it happen. We're living through the collapse of our wildlife and nature systems. We've got, again, I won't say this word on air, but we've got nasty stuff in our rivers and the NHS on its knees. And a quarter of our children are going to bed hungry and the highest energy bills in Europe. And yet we have 165 billionaires. Now, if a lot of those billionaires brought their wealth back on shore, because a lot of it is hidden offshore, we would have enough money to be able to, put all those things right.
But those billionaires those billionaires probably don't spend much time driving along the M25 motorway. It's everyday people and families, people who have
Andrew,
not been able to get to hospital appointments and get to see their families and get to work.
We are everyday people, and it takes everyday people to recognise that our democracy is under threat, and it takes everyday people to stand up. We're asking people to come and join us. Go and sign up to the houseofthepeople.uk. Have your say, because at the minute it's the millionaires and billionaires who are having their say. The ordinary people of this country, Scotland, England, all of the UK, have had enough. And it's time for us to claim back our democracy.
But isn't it the ordinary people that you have been punishing with direct action? You know, for example, people that have saved up a lot of money to maybe go to a theatre performance, which gets disrupted, or we know in one case, someone who couldn't get to a hospital appointment because of a direct action protest. So the billionaires are not the people who go to these everyday events. It's the people who you say have had enough. But these are the people who are being inconvenienced.
We can't afford billionaires. Their lifestyles are ripping us all off. They've got private jets, and they've got. I just want to give you a little example here. Okay, so the laws that just got brought, or the laws that have been brought in over the last couple of years to put Just Stop Oil supporters, and this is rig supporters, through the court and send them to prison. Those laws were written by Policy Exchange. Now, Policy Exchange is funded by ExxonMobil oil company, and also partly funded by Paul Marshall, who owns GB News, but that's a side issue. And so what we see is that oil companies are not going to go down quietly. They're going to do everything they can to shut us up, and we're not having it. We'll be back. Go to the houseofthepeople.uk and have your say in how your country is run from now on.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. Mitch Rhodes there, who is from Just Stop Oil. The time